We continue to follow breaking news out of Major League Baseball, where Clayton Kershaw announced on Instagram that he's undergone surgery on his throwing shoulder. Now, in that statement on social media, Kershaw added he hopes to return to play at some point next summer. That'd be 2024. The three-time Cy Young Award winner will be a free agent this offseason, has spent his entire 16-year career with the Dodgers, started 24 games this past season, 13-5 with a 2.46 ERA. However, his most recent appearance was in the postseason. May have been his worst. 6 runs while recording just 1 out in the NLDS against the Diamondbacks. I'm Tommy Tran, joined by our front office insider, Jim Bowden. So, Jim, what more can you tell us, and also context-wise, in terms of Clayton Kershaw's injury?
Yeah, so, Tommy, this was a pretty serious injury, and I think it explains why he was knocked out after just a third of an inning in that game you're referring to against the Diamondbacks in the NLDS. So he had surgery this morning. Dr. Neil Elatrosh out of Los Angeles did the surgery. Now, what they did was they repaired the glenohumeral ligaments, but also, and here's the key, they also repaired the capsule in the left shoulder. And the reason I bring that aspect of the surgery up is that is the very worst part of the shoulder where you would need to have an operation on. It's a surgery that oftentimes a pitcher does not come back from. And if he does come back, a lot of times they don't have the same command. They don't have the same velocity either. So it's a very serious injury to the shoulder. When you see the words when he said he's hopeful he's back next summer, that's because even if you rehab really hard, there's no guarantees that you'll be back in 10 months. There's no guarantees you'll, quite frankly, be back at all. So it's a pretty serious surgery, but look, he's asking for our prayers. We're all going to give it to him. We all know where he ends up at the end of the day, Tommy. He ends up in Cooperstown. He ends up as a Hall of Famer. We're all going to pray that he makes a comeback. It's very clear to me that he wasn't ready to retire, so he's going to fight to come back, but there's no slam dunk that he can.
So, as a, because he's been Mr. Dodger for a decade and a half, Jim, and you and I have talked about Clayton Kershaw and where he fits within not only Dodgers lore, but baseball lore as well. So, you mentioned what Kershaw is. He's saying he's hopeful by next summer here. Where did you have Clayton Kershaw going into free agency here? Because, some of the writers at CBSSports.com had him as the 10th best and ranked him that pre-injury. I mean, just give us a sense of what Kershaw was in your eyes before the news from today.
Yeah, well, certainly the staff at CBS got it right. He certainly is top 10. I remember what he did this year. He won 13 games. He had an ERA of 2.46 over 24 starts, and that included 137 strikeouts and 131 2/3 innings, and also a WAR of 3.7. That's wins above replacement. So he had a significant year. So he was placed properly. I think what we have to look at now is going into the offseason, right? We knew he'd either re-sign with the Dodgers, sign with the Texas Rangers because he lives in Dallas, or retire. Instead, he had the surgery. But now let's kind of play it forward a little bit, and let's talk about if there is a miracle or if the rehab goes really well, and for some reason the prayers are answered and he's able to come back and pitch at some point late in the summer. Let's just say that happens. Instead of signing now in a deal that would be a low base with incentives, he's probably better off to just hold and wait. And let me walk you through this. If you walk and wait and you were able to come back, say, in August, he could take a look and see where the Dodgers are in the standings and see where the Rangers are in the standings and kind of look and see what team would fit him best. Now, imagine this, because Chris Young of the Rangers met with Clayton Kershaw last offseason when he's a free agent. But the Rangers had lost 100 games 2 years ago, 94 games last year. And I think Clayton Kershaw was an easy decision because the Dodgers, were already a playoff team, were expected to win 100 games again, which they did. But now that the Rangers are world champions, now Kershaw can look at maybe staying at home, saying, you know what, maybe it would be nice to finish my career as a Ranger. I'm going to the Hall of Fame as a Dodger anyway. And imagine this, Tommy, because this is the most intriguing part. What if he is able to come back, which, the odds aren't great, but if he does, maybe he and Jacob deGrom join Max Scherzer in September, and all 3 future Hall of Famers lead the rotation of the Rangers next October when they try to defend their world championship. That would be fascinating.
Holy cow. Kershaw currently 35 years old. And lastly here, Jim, where does this lead the Dodgers? Where do they go from here?
Well, look, they had so many injuries this year, right? Losing Tony Gonsolin was a huge setback. Dustin May, a huge setback. Walker Buehler, they were hoping to pitch in September and maybe in October, but coming back from that second Tommy John, his elbow was barking at the end of the month, so they shut him down. They've got to hope and pray that those three guys can come back in 24, because also remember this, Julio Urias, who's on administrative leave for allegations against domestic violence, he is not coming back with the Dodgers. They've already told me he's out. So what they're going to have to do in free agency is open up that checkbook and start writing checks. And I'm told that is their #1 pursuit. While everyone thinks Ohtani's their top priority, I'm being told their top priority is chasing Yamamoto, Aaron Nola, Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell, and the other top starting pitchers on this free agent market. So expect them to spend some money and pursue starters heavily. They're going to have to if they want to get back to the playoffs in 24.
Thank you, Jim. Or Jim Bowden, front office insider, with the latest, of course, the insight that we always lean on here on CBS Sports HQ. Again, Clayton Kershaw taking to social media, putting out a post that he underwent surgery, is hopeful to play next summer. And his career ranks with the Dodgers, 16 seasons with Think Blue, #1 in some really important categories, and top 5 in wins.